the G in Gmail stands for justice and hope.
Proof justice
And
in the
freedom.
American way. John, are you good to intro?
Probably, 1 second.
Let him consume the glass.
Oh,
Consumes the
yeah.
glass and leaves the water behind.
Who the fuck is Nate?
In a
The water just
perfect...
retains its shape.
Yeah, it's like a very solid pint of Guinness.
I wish this is vodka just to help kill me before the trip. Hello and welcome to Fact vs. Fiction, where my voice is screwed. Let's continue. As usual, I'm John, probably, and we've got Matt with us.
All in. It's it's 2. Oh, fuck. Day to you, sir.
Skipping him. We've got Tom.
Hello, I am Tom, and my voice is also somewhat fucked, but perhaps not as much as John's.
Sounds more smooth than fucked.
Smooth jazz. in my voice.
You like jazz?
Yeah.
Like smooth jazz. and of course we have Corby.
I'm the one who's surprisingly not fucked this morning.
He didn't go out last night.
That is
He
true.
never goes out.
I spent an hour and a half looking for the "How will this benefit the children" soundbite.
He did, and he found it.
Yeah, just now.
Now, it's not the morning. Help.
It's
Anyway.
always the morning somewhere.
In your heart.
In the mind. In the
It's-
hearts of
it's
children
morning
everywhere.
in your heart.
It's morning in your heart.
Oh,
And not
yeah.
the daytime kind of mourning, the sad mourning that people do at funerals.
Oh no.
It's always morning in the hearts of children everywhere. Ooh, let's take on that. Let's take it on a bit.
I just want to point out the "oh no" from Tom that sounded so disingenuous. Oh no, they're all mourning. Whatever will
Oh,
we
no.
do?
Oh no, there's a funeral home in my valves.
In your valves?
Oh, yeah. Anyway, it'll be as usual. It's a fact episode, so me and Matt will be doing some nonsense. So we'll get started with Matt in a little while. In the meantime, has anyone got a hypothetical?
I have a dumb question.
Oh hell yeah, the only
I'll
kind of
do it,
questions
okay.
we do.
The only questions I have. If camels could have their humps hollowed out without you killing them, do you think they would be more effective as a form of horse than a horse?
No.
Are you? Is this for? Is this for like storage, or are you like getting in there and piloting it from the
Yep.
inside?
You're instead of having to sit on the camel's back, you can sit in where the hump was.
Right.
You've got
so
a little
we-
seat in there.
We've made some sort of like organic car / mecha camel, and I don't understand this concept, but I fear it.
Do you think it would
As
be
everyone
more
should.
widely used as the horse?
Man, when they
think
rode
it's
into war on the backs of camels back in the day, that would have been incredibly different if they could have sat inside the camel.
What do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a camel hollower.
Hollowed out camels, the earliest form of tank.
There are still some sticklers who say it's the purest form.
Purest
I
form
see
of
you
tank.
there with your machines, with their tire treads, and I say, it's nothing that a good camel couldn't do.
God, Girls and Panzer was different back in the day.
Girls and camel.
Well,
Aw.
I mean, I tell you what, the Africa call went weird. I'm just looking at these camels. So it wouldn't seem to benefit anyone. You'd just be slightly lower down.
Yeah, less likely to get hit by an arrow. More comfortable.
Yeah.
On the
More
flip,
camouflaged.
if you hit the camel hump, even though there's nothing in it, does the camel still perish? Or
I guess, because you've removed its source of food.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's
basically
implying
a
that
source
camels
of
can't
fat.
eat.
also
Those
also
camels live off their hump.
also implying that you are now the source of food inside
Yes,
the
You've
camel.
got to be very careful. If the camel gets hungry, it dissolves
Yeah,
you.
it can absorb
Right,
you
it's
from
it's bloody
within.
Beaver pilots for
It's a
the-
symbiotic relationship,
I am one with my camel.
and the camel is one with me.
You thought James Cameron's Avatar was weird? Get a load of hollow camels.
Hollow Earth theory's got nothing on the hollow camel theory, tell you what.
Oh my god. Yeah, at some point we have to talk about David Icke and his conspiracy nonsense because that's just Jesus.
We will. I told you it was a dumb question.
Yeah, it was.
Anyone got anything else, or are we leaving it at that?
Depression.
Is that a question or a statement?
Yes.
It's what the camels now have to get treatment for.
They took me hump.
No, the hump's still there, according to you. It's just hollow.
The camel's distinguishing feature, pretty much.
Oh, imagine if you could just take the hump, like the top of the hump and the insides out, with like it was like a plug. So when you take it out, it just makes that noise like when you take a cork out of a bottle.
Hold on, you mean
I'm
this
sorry. Yeah.
That's probably that.
Just unplug the camel.
one? When you said plug, I'm not gonna lie, I was thinking of the electrical ones.
Just take the hump off, and there's a small door there that you don't have a key to. Okay. Yes.
Story of my life.
Oh well, I guess unless no one's got any dumb questions.
I'm afraid. If that was your question, I'm afraid of what you've brought this week.
It's got nothing to do with camels.
Thank fuck.
Down.
Oh, there'll be a connection to camels in there somewhere.
No, there won't.
With enough steps of separation.
6 degrees. 6 degrees will get there.
With enough steps of separation, you can link anything.
Yeah, 6. 6 is the number.
It's 6.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh. Alright, I'll get started. How many of you guys... How many of you guys?
There's 3 of us,
Presumably-
Matt.
Oh my god!
Next question, please.
Oh
I'm good
god.
at this.
God, it's good being the alert one today.
Instead of heat
Yeah, I
stroke
said three.
edition, it's hungover edition.
Me and Tom had heat stroke. You guys have hungover editions.
Okay,
That seems accurate, actually. That seems
Yeah.
fine.
so I'm going to assume that
Hmm.
all of you guys have a device that is in some way Bluetooth connected.
Yes.
Yeah.
How do you know?
You're on a
Ooh.
phone.
I'm wearing
I might
mine.
know where you're going with this.
Well,
Oh,
does anybody know the story behind how Bluetooth got its name?
Yes.
I look Bluetooth, yeah.
Yes,
I know
indeed.
of him.
Excellent. Well, that leaves some of my script, so I'll get straight into it. I'm going
Oh.
to tell you the story of Harold Bluetooth and all the stuff he did. Which, yeah, surprisingly, I say surprisingly little. I found more about a Roman emperor than I did about a medieval Viking. It's weird.
Because there's only one or two stories about medieval Vikings, isn't there? There's only going to be there's a smaller record of them.
He
There's less people.
the Roman emperor was also arguably a bigger historical figure
Yeah.
True,
because you know he was emperor.
Less
He
people
was
have
really
heard
tall.
Aurelian than Harold Bluetooth. Well, I'm going to tell you about Harold Bluetooth and his blue teeth. Deep in the frigid north lies the, statistically speaking, best place to live in the world.
Norway.
Scandinavia. Norway, Scandinavia, all the countries. Ignore Finland because that place is dark and depressing. And
It's got a really good education system, though.
it does. It
High
does.
depression, but good education.
Is Finland the Mordor of Scandinavia?
Yes.
More if you replace the fire with snow. Yes.
Is it-
Sorry to the Finnish people.
I'm gonna say, isn't all of Scandinavia snow?
Don't be sorry to finish. They're already
Yeah, there's
fantastic
no
race
land.
rally drivers. They know.
To be fair, isn't Finland the one with a place literally called Helsinki?
I think they just have hell. There is a place just called Hell, which
That's
is in
nice.
Scandinavia. But as we all know, Scandinavia is formed of Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Finland. These 4 nations have a rich and compelling history, and anyone who's remotely heard of Scandinavia more than likely knows about their most famous people.
A rich history of coming over to the UK and fucking it up.
Predominantly coming over to the UK and just looting us dry. A phrase I've never used before.
Yeah, I prefer in future if you could use the phrase "looting us moist." That's better.
Oh god. He looted me so hard I was moist.
Loot me harder, daddy.
Ah! Yes, the
Please don't
Vikings,
pillage me, Oni-san.
That's the plot of Vikings, I think.
It's the Vinland
Sure.
Saga.
the Vikings, the Vikings left their mark on all corners of Europe, large portions of Russia, the Mediterranean, and even in the US, with the territories of Vinland, kind of on the whereabouts. You know this, John. Whereabouts on the American coast is Vinland, or would
Finland?
Vinland?
Pretty much just south of the Newfoundland area.
Yeah, so nice
that kind of
area
area.
of Canada
Newfoundland even, so.
and whatnot. Um,
Big dogs.
Didn't they go via Greenland and Iceland? Is that how
yeah,
they got
basically
there?
hopped around. Which also, I just love the fact that Greenland and Iceland have the wrong names.
Well, you know why they did that, don't you?
Oh yeah, this place is icy, so we better call it Greenland.
So so everyone will go there and not to the place called Iceland.
Yeah, they found an old settlement on the northern tip of the island of Newfoundland. Yeah, so it's around that.
Vikings are, as Tom also pointed out earlier, ingrained in popular culture with many TV shows and stuff talking about them, and with good reason, as well as being fearsome warriors on the battlefield and just being fascinating in general to look at. They probably have fuck.
Mad stroke.
Yep.
Oh no, the Vikings have got to his room.
Oh god.
They're attacking him now.
He should.
They're following him out by
If
the
only
camel.
he had NordVPN, they wouldn't have been able to find him.
Viking private network.
Oh god. As well as
Viking
being
Proof Network.
Not sponsored.
As well as being fearsome warriors on the battlefield, they had an incredible culture. Perhaps most surprisingly, though, they accomplished most of their famous feats while still being basically confined to a tribal structure. The Scandinavian countries were not unified until the end of the nations we know today, until roughly the end of the 10th century. I think most people don't even talk about the kind of thing. I think Ragnar Lodbrok is the famous Viking hero who sort of unified Sweden, kind of.
Isn't that the one that Vikings is about?
That's the one Vikings
Yeah.
was initially. But the first Viking to really unify their respective nation is the person we're going to be talking about today, Harald Bluetooth, the man who unified Denmark. So, let me tell you about Harald. Lovely man, Harald. Great name.
Horrific teeth,
Harold, I thought it was Harold. There's this guy called Harold who just happened to turn up.
Tell you about Harold. Hey, Harold's over there. Lovely guy.
Terrible teeth.
We'll talk about his teeth at the end, where he gets the nickname from. So Harold was not born Harold Bluetooth. He was born Harold Gormson.
I didn't thought you were going to say he wasn't born. He descended from the heavens down onto Denmark.
Harold was born at a terribly young age.
Of 0.
We all are.
Oh no.
Harold was born in either 910 or 911, a running trend in a lot of historical famous people where we don't know quite what year they were born.
I mean, it's not too disparate a time gap.
No, but unlike with Aurelian, we don't know the exact date.
I mean, hell, even Jolly Broderick really know the exact date. That's just how it is.
Harold was the son of the previous big Danish tribal chief, Gorm the Old. Presumably lived to a ripe old age.
Of 70 back in those days.
I've been called this since I was 17.
He's just so wrinkled. Harold was described as short and thin, not typically Viking-esque traits, I'm sure you'll agree. When you think of Vikings, I think of Vikings, it's more just muscle-bound.
Broad, muscular, like the guy who plays the mountain on Game of Thrones.
Yeah, kind
Kind of thing.
The big beefy man. He had his older brother Knut. On the other hand,
Newt.
is not
Was a
related.
newt.
He was Knut.
Oh,
who is not related to any of the famous Knuts, as far as I can tell. Was a big, strapping, strong boy. So he was his father's favorite, Daddy's favorite.
Was he the older brother or the younger brother?
I think he was the older brother as well. During Harold's early life, his father Gorm set about the task of unifying Denmark. Harold and Knut basically left him to it, regularly just going off to England and Ireland, having a bit of a raid, just getting stuff and bringing it back home.
Bit of
getting a can of raid, getting rid of those bugs.
bit of pillaging.
Bit of pillage, bit of raiding.
I like how they went to England, even though they had the whole of the rest of Europe only just south of them, and they were like, "Nah, we're going over there."
It's weird because they did raid, like Vikings raided all along like the Baltic coastline, raided heavily into France.
But a
Mediterranean.
lot of the
It's
Baltic
just
coastline
where
wasn't
they-
actually just
they
that rich.
Sorry?
A lot of the Baltic coastline just wasn't massively rich at that time.
No,
That's because
It
they
was
just
actually
kept
getting-
taking from
getting
each other.
minimum.
Let's be real.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, England did have a king called Edgar the Unready.
He wasn't
Which
ready, let me tell you.
Oh, what was that?
made England a pretty sweet
Ethelred
spot
the
to
Unready
raid.
wasn't helpful.
Yeah, but England was just filled with lots of cash money, so
It
that's
really
where the
was.
Vikings were going. Being only second in line to the throne and not really looking the part, Harold didn't need to worry about becoming king. However, during one of their frequent raids on Dublin, Canute was shot and killed by a vengeful Irish archer. Doesn't say when or how, he got shot by
The
someone.
ancestor of Harry O'Daniels.
Was it the guy from the Strongbow can?
Yeah, exactly. That's why he had a big strongbow. Gorm, their father, was devastated, and soon Harold found himself king of a partially unified Denmark. So, classic case of, oh god, I'm in charge now. Help. And as a lot in history, that goes very wrong very fast for said person in charge.
My experience in Crusader Kings has taught me so much. So yes. The moment the kingship changes hands, everyone wants you dead.
Yeah, it's a running trend. Well, Harold bucked the trend, as I'm going to talk to you about. So Harold began his reign in 958 AD by fulfilling his father's dreams and achieving one of the things he is most well known for, unifying Denmark under one banner. Now, there isn't a lot on what he actually did in terms of the fights and whatnot, but he essentially started out with holdings in what is Jutland and Zealand, which is essentially what we think of as modern-day Denmark without the islands that kind of go between the gap between Denmark and Sweden.
So like the north part of where they are north of Germany now, or
Yeah, that little pointy bit that comes out above Germany.
yeah.
That's like that whole area is like Jutland.
Yeah.
Harold immediately started unifying them by kicking the shit out of things and basically just conquering everybody very, very quickly. Danish tribes on the string of islands. Speed run unification.
Any percent.
Any percent speed
That's
run.
why he missed the islands off. It was an any percent run.
Well, the islands was where he's headed. So he quickly wrapped up most of the tribes that were still on the main pointy bit, and then quickly, took over all the other tribes that on the islands. I think he also took the nib of Sweden as well, and there was a little area up in, like that gap between Norway and Sweden. You know how they kind of looks like a weird shaped butt, where the asshole be. I'm so sorry.
I kind of think it
I'm
looks
sorry.
like a two-headed.
I don't
penis.
remember learning this in geography class.
They're too busy trying to teach us how rocks work.
But that
They
gap
do.
where the border of Sweden
Igneous.
is in modern day, that kind of area as well came under his control.
I'm gonna need like a graphic and an arrow just to work out
Yeah.
what the fuck you mean.
Yeah, just
Where
that's
the
what it's
asshole of
carrying
Scandinavia is.
As I said, not a lot is documented on these events, mainly because the Vikings didn't write anything down on stuff that wasn't rocks. But it would appear that Harold had not so much difficulty, but it took him a while to do. So most of his early years were spent doing that and unifying Denmark. With a united Denmark under his banner, Harold set about consolidating power through the construction of 5 ring forts. Would anybody like to guess their shape?
Were they squares?
Wow.
Circular?
A Bluetooth symbol.
I
They
knew
were
that
circular,
they were spherical.
spherical. They go in.
Walls of just land. Ugh.
Just big hamster balls.
You can't conquer my land orb.
And then he just rolls over them with the sphere.
They were ring-shaped forts. They were ring-shaped forts that formed a ring around the Danish capital. Loved his rings, apparently.
Rings within rings within rings.
Where was the Danish capital at this point?
Aarhus was the capital. Or
in the
what
middle of
we
Astrid.
say- It's Aarhus currently, but I think it might have a different name back then. But that was the
God
capital.
damn it, Tom.
No, it's its own city now. No, it's
Took me a moment, but I got there.
Yeah, no, it's on the east coast of Denmark is where
Yeah.
Aarhus is.
So these were, as I said, perfectly circular in shape, with 4 gates at the corners of the earth. I don't quite know.
Sorry, what?
I'm gonna call bullshit on that one.
Where are the
Sorry,
corners?
what was that? Oh, gates on the. These rings have suddenly
Yeah.
become interdimensional portals.
I think it means cardinal directions. But that's what it
That
says.
would make sense, yeah.
It sounds a bit like he's been putting up stargates.
Aarhus.
Mm.
On the east of Denmark.
They had 4 gates at the corners of the earth. The courtyards themselves were split into like the four quarters of a circle, and then each of these would be filled with houses in a square pattern, and that was kind of the standard model for Danish and Viking kind of forts. Not quite a hill fort, kind of a mix or a hybrid between hill forts and kind of the castle styles that were starting to become present in like Northern Europe kind of area. Harold built several more after this and basically covered the entire country in these forts, because as we'll see later, he does have a run-in with the Holy Roman Empire, a lot.
It's what,
most of
it's what happens when you're slightly north of the HRE.
they get a bit touchy-feely from time to time.
They're like, oh yeah, that's ours.
I see you own land. That's mine now.
Your land is connected to my land. That's technically my land.
I mean, that's the world, isn't it? So, you know,
Basically, Holy Roman Empire policy for its existence. So Harold used these basically to consolidate military and economic power, and ensure that he had a series of good defensive measures to stop the HRE should they come a knocking. He also did a myriad of other beneficial public works, including rejuvenating the fortress that was around Aarhus itself, to make that more in line with what modern fortresses were at the time. That was more towards the end of his reign, though, during the actual scuffle and kerfuffle with the HRE. But on top of that, he also constructed the oldest known bridge in southern Scandinavia, the Ravning Bridge, which was 5 meters wide and 760 meters long. It's a big fucking bridge.
when's the bridge?
Like, especially
That is a
for
big
the time, that's a big
Yeah.
ass bridge.
That's impressive.
What's called the Ravning Bridge.
Yes, I was like, Vikings aren't exactly known for their
Unification.
They're usually more,
Bridges.
about taking down buildings with fire as opposed to constructing them.
Sure, they're good construction. I mean, just look at the damn longboats. Lunches.
Yeah, but so
It's the only thing that we're good at building, boats.
Yeah.
How do you think they got all the way over to America back in the 800s?
island hopping around Greenland. But that's just kind of like what we know about what Harold did in his at-home policy, or
In his private time.
his private time, his hobby, in his hobby time.
Harold's time.
Harold's time. But Harold did a lot of his time was given over in terms of foreign policy to what Vikings are well known for, which is conquering and raiding things. He wasn't just about
pillaging.
owning Denmark. He wanted a little bit more than Denmark and the asshole of Scandinavia. He wanted more of Scandinavia and just anything he could get his hands.
He wanted the whole butt for Scandinavia.
He wanted the whole of Scandinavia's butt.
No, but I mean, it doesn't matter.
He had his sights as a foot here on getting vast tracts of land. So, in the year 963, 5 years into his rule, Harold went over to Normandy to assist the Duke there, called Duke Richard the Fearless. So I'm going to assume this man had a reputation for presumably
Being fearless.
Not much on him. I don't know how related Duke Richard the Fearless was to William the Conqueror. The Conch is about 80 years out. Probably
The
100 years
Conch.
out. The Conch, just over 100 years out. So possible relations. But at the time, Duke Richard had lost control of Normandy to the French king.
But he wasn't afraid.
He wasn't afraid that he'd lost it. But this was like Normandy had just been claimed by the Vikings, essentially. And not too long back, and basically the French were like, yes, you can be our vassal. And then the Vikings did something weird, so the French went, "You're not our vassal anymore. Give us our lands." So Harold popped over to help good old Richard the Fearless reclaim Normandy. Again, not a whole lot on the fights, but we do know that they were ultimately successful because they captured Louis IV in a battle. And the moment Louis IV noticed or realized who Richard was like, "Ah, yes, it's you. Yes, you can have your land back. That's fine. Please don't kill me." And Richard got his land back, and Harold was like, "Cool. You're my vassal as well now. You better start paying me shit." So he essentially made them into a tributary kind of thing. Feudalism was weird because you could have lords under two.
I guess feudalism was weird because technically it didn't exist as it does today.
No.
Today.
Yeah, you know, that modern feudalism that we've got going on.
Yes.
I know.
Essentially, you could have somebody could be under the vassal of one king, but also pay homage to another. It was weird and complicated and too much effort to research. But basically, that established Harold as now having territory of Normandy as a vassal and part of his budding Scandinavian empire. In the meantime, while this had been happening, Harold's son had been out conquering Samland, which is modern-day northeast Germany and Poland, kind of where Pomerania is, I think.
Yeah.
East Prussia, for anyone who plays EU4.
I mean, Pomerania exists there, I think.
It does, yeah. Like
Not in the latest patch it doesn't, but you can form it again.
We don't talk about the Pomeranians. But basically that whole like northeastern German Baltic coast territory, that
I was gonna say like where
Uh,
Königsberg is, but it changes names so many fucking times. I don't know if that's his
Well,
actual name.
it's Russian now.
No. But that was done by Svein Forkbeard, who we will talk a little bit later.
What a name!
Is a good name. I've got some.
He lost a fork in his beard years ago.
He's never
He
found
never found it. He just uses 2 knives at every meal.
Well, the fork didn't come into use until like in late Renaissance or something.
Because it was in his beard the whole time.
Yeah, he had the original fork,
And
it
lost
then
it.
had to dig him up to find it. But these territories were vassalized under his rule. But Harold's biggest triumph was yet to come. In the late 1960s? In the late 960s.
Bit of a tangent there.
In the late 1960s, he
The
leapt
swinging
forward
60s.
in time.
Towards the end of the 960s, I've written this weirdly. At the end of 960-ish, the sons of Eric Bloodaxe, who was a former king of Norway and renowned as essentially a mass family murderer, you know, a lot of people.
To be fair, with a surname like Bloodaxe, how could you
yeah.
not be?
Yeah, no, it's one of those things.
Eric Bloodaxe had been over in England and had been killed in a fight with Northumbria, I think.
I'm just love.
Somewhere in
I
Northumbria.
thought you were about to say he came back. He died, but then he came back and just did this anyway.
But he came back. Also, I just
he-
love the juxtaposition of his name. Surname Bloodaxe. First name Eric.
There's a lot of famous Erics in.
Yeah, so Eric Bloodaxe was killed fighting in, I believe, Northumbria, but I could be wrong on that front. But his sons and wife essentially then returned to Scandinavia because, like, well, we're not in exile anymore because our dad's dead. They had quite a strong claim to the Norwegian throne because obviously Eric had been king, and Harold was related to them via his sister, who had been Eric's wife. He agreed to help them dethrone the sitting king, a man named Harkon the Good. There was a series of fights which are not very well.
Sounds like a good man.
Yeah, he must have been a good man to get a name like that. But Harold didn't care. So there were a series of fights, again, not very well recorded. But we do know that Hakon invaded Jutland, but was then killed at a battle on the island of Stord, or something of a similar name, which I think is one of the islands between Denmark and Sweden. And basically, once that had happened and he was dead, it was like, cool, it's over. We're going to put my nephew on the throne, which is exactly what he did. He installed another Harold called Harold Greycloak as the vassal king of Normandy, essentially like, cool, you're in charge, you're under me, pay me money, it's all good. So this was the height of Bluetooth's little empire where he had basically all of Normandy, all of Normandy, all of Norway, the asshole of Scandinavia, Denmark, and East Prussia, which is pretty big at the time.
So you're saying that Bluetooth was pretty well connected?
You're damn right, it was pretty well connected. Unfortunately, this didn't last too long. Grey Cloak, I'll try to phrase this, was a bit of an asshole. He was very heavy-handed in his rule, him and his brothers. And eventually, the locals got a bit tired of this, and he started talking to some unsavory allies, and Bluetooth told them that he probably shouldn't associate with these people, mainly because they might want to kill him. He didn't listen to Bluetooth, and was then killed, assassinated by said people who he thought were his friends. Don't think Harold Grey was a very effective ruler. However, this essentially allowed Bluetooth to subjugate Norway entirely. Because, okay, well, he's dead. I'm the closest living relative with a bloodline. I think I'll have Norway now. So he officially invaded Norway. And I think he owned Norway for about 4 years officially as its king, before things went a little bit wrong, which we'll talk on in a second.
How does Harold bloody Bluetooth at this point?
I don't know.
You said this was the 960s, didn't you? And he was born in like 911, 910?
He would have been in his 50s.
Okay. No, he's not doing too bad. Yeah.
So it is also thought that Harold may or may not have organised the assassination of Harold Greycloak. We can't really tell, but it doesn't seem. It seems like it could have happened. Like, who can
Certainly
say?
plausible.
We don't have enough carved rocks to tell us otherwise. Speaking of carved rocks, Harold decided to celebrate all of his triumphs via the construction of a huge stone. The Jelling runestone, to be precise, which is one of two famous runestones in Denmark. Now, just for anyone who doesn't know, listening-wise, runestones were essentially literally giant stones that had runes carved into them, which celebrated achievements and battles and reigns. And
it was a real-life achievement unlocked.
Exactly. The best kind of memorabilia, because it's a giant stone that lasts for thousands of years.
Yes,
What's the other one in Denmark?
Skyrim stones, and yes, they do glow if you touch them.
They do.
So what was the other one in Denmark?
There are two Jelling runestones. The first one was established by his father, Gorm.
Okay.
Which was how we know a lot about him. And Harold constructed the second, honouring his father and mother, and basically listing down all his achievements that he'd done.
That sounds like serious daddy issues. My dad's got a runestone. I need a bigger one.
He did leave a little gap at the bottom for further achievements. Harold was not done being famous. However, all this good fortune wasn't to last. Despite the realm being quite calm and prosperous on an internal level, there was pretty much no, a lot of the times when you're talking about this period of history, there's a lot of upheaval and constant rebellions and riots. Didn't have that in Denmark. Everyone was hunky-dory and chill. At least inside Denmark. Harold made a few mistakes that may or may not have caused him to lose everything. The sagas from the time are not particularly nice to him after this point. So, at some point in his reign, Harold may have had a run-in with the Jomsvikings.
Oh, Christ.
The Jomsvikings are essentially the pagan equivalent of a holy order, massive mercenaries and brigands that would essentially kill and raid the highest bidder, or not just do it because they can. The Jomsvikings are fascinating, and there's a lot that can be said about them. I want to say they were like a holy order. Entry was only allowed via a duel with another member. There could be no blood feuds between any members, and if there was an argument, it was mediated by all the Jomsvikings, and they basically had to talk it out, which is quite a modern thing when you think about it.
Yeah.
They were bloody nuts though, and they had quite a few famous kings. I think I think I want to say Canute, who actually ended up ruling England. He
was part of the Jomsvikings at some point.
Yeah.
One of the famous Knuts.
Yeah.
You weren't allowed any women in the headquarters, and members could not leave the headquarters for more than 3 days without permission. So, weirdly strict for a Viking order.
Yeah.
So Harold
Yeah.
had an unfortunate run-in with a Jomsviking leader called Stribbjorn the Strong. Three guesses on how he got that name.
He really liked strong cheese.
Yeah.
This isn't a challenge. I'm presuming he's strong.
He buff as fuck.
You're presume wrong, sir. You stinks.
Oh no, he's got a powerful odor.
Yeah. Oh.
Don't let him put you in a headlock.
Oh god, he'll knock you out with the smell alone. It doesn't say what Harold did or what the run-in was, but Stribbjorn was basically like, "You've got to get me some stuff, or I'm gonna fuck you up." Kind of like a bit like a school bully. So to get him off his back, Harold offered him his daughter and the use of his fleets to go raiding. This apparently wasn't enough, as he ran afoul of Stribbjorn again a few more years down the line. At this time, loaning him his entire fleet and army for an attack on Sweden for Stribbjorn to try and claim its throne. Now, to go off tangent slightly, off tangent, who knows? Vikings took a lot of oaths very seriously, very much like honor and that kind of thing. And if you made an oath, you tended to stick to it. This is probably why the chronicles don't like Harold that much, because Harold did not stick to his oath.
That's not good. That's pretty bad. I think when they were talking about like who's the most fucked in Viking society, I think oathbreakers are pretty much about the same as murderers. It's not good.
In a less than Viking display of manliness, Harold decided to leg it the moment the Swedes appeared, leaving Stribbjorn to fight alone. No word on if Stribbjorn won the fight or not.
Ooh.
Harold legged it though with his men, who were apparently fine with it. Not long after that, he also suffered a defeat at the hands of the Holy Roman Empire in the year 974, and after losing the Battle of Danevirk, I'm not good with
Danevirk.
It's spelled Dane and then Brike, so Danevirk. Harold had to cede a lot of the southern border, where the current border is today. He basically lost more of that to the HRE. And to add insult to injury, Norway fucked off. Essentially, it was like, I see, you've broken your oath and you've lost the battle. I guess we can leave now. Don't know how they fucked off. Doesn't say, but they left. Makes it sound like they departed from the continent.
They
When you said
divorced him.
Norway fucked off, I did just imagine like a map and Norway just vanishes.
Oh,
Done
God,
with this.
bloody
Oh,
Just reappears in the
like
Mediterranean.
Danger 5 Japan. It's just gone. Oh.
But yeah, after this, Harold was basically for the remainder of his reign was at war with the HRE. Constant border shifts going back and forth, and at some point in this process, Harold converted to Christianity, which is the other thing he's most well known for, being the monarch that brought Christianity to the forefront in Scandinavia. He brought it back to Denmark, apparently got quite into it, even going so far as to dig up his dead dad and bury him in a newly built church, which is kind of rude because his dad was real into the pagan ways.
And that's going to piss off the Jomsvikings even more, because they were like, we are the most pagan beings in existence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, you gotta spend a Sunday afternoon doing something. So.
I guess.
Yeah, a lot like the Crisis of the Third Century. The order of all these events is a little jumbled, because as I said, there's not a lot of records on what order they happened, and we just know that they happened.
Yep.
But how and why did Harold convert to Christianity? There are two leading theories. I'm going to tell you the one that sounds right, and then the one that's not. So, most historians follow the account of a man called Adam of Bremen, who was writing 100 years after Harold's death. He states that Harold was simply forcibly converted by the HRE emperor, either Otto I or II.
After they beat him.
After they beat him, I think he was captured and army defeated, and they were literally like, hey, we're taking your land, you've got to become a Christian kind of thing, or you're not getting out. The more famous account, however, was told by one of his fellow countrymen, Widukund of Corby, which is a great name. Allegedly, Harold saw the light after witnessing a traveling cleric named Popper. I'm going to put that in inverted commas.
Big
A
Popper.
cleric named Popper.
Popper.
Now, Popper decided he would prove the power of God by carrying a large heated iron weight without burning himself.
Oh, no.
Apparently, it worked, and Harold was convinced. And Popper even went on to repeat this miracle for Harold's son, Sven Forkbeard, who assumably was convinced as well. But yeah, whatever the case, most agree that Harold's conversion came about due to some form of peace treaty with the HRE. His conversion was added to the leftover space on the runestone, which is how we know about basically the two big things that he did. It's all on that stone. Just go look at the stone if you're confused.
He was converted by Big Popper.
Big. Oh no.
Yeah.
Big
It's bad.
Big Popper, the travelling
I've got-
cleric.
I'm sorry, son, but Jesus, Daddy made me religious.
Witness the power of God. I'm gonna make him your daddy. So,
Daddy who art in heaven.
oh God. Harold's last hurrah came in 983. He was getting on at this point. He was pretty old. Probably would have been in his 70s.
By the way, if he was born in 910, yeah.
Yeah, so he's 73, 72 at this point. It's pretty good innings for that time period.
Really is.
Yeah.
You
Well,
were lucky
him and
to
his
not
son-
die at 50.
Yeah, pretty good. Him and his son Sven were along with an alliance of Obradite soldiers, which I don't know what that is, and I couldn't find anything on what Obradite even meant. And a bunch of loyal troops then pushed the HRE out and resettled the border, and there was a lot of fighting over various forts around the area. But unfortunately, this didn't last, and Harold kept getting pushed back. So his last hurrah wasn't great. His son Sven, tired of his father's constant defeats and the fact he was still living, which is a big problem for sons in those days, rose up in revolt. Little is known again about what happened, but it would appear that Harold was either killed in battle or died of his wounds in either 985 or 986. It's great having a concrete knowledge of when things happened. This may or may not have happened at this point, possibly.
All we can
Harold ruled for-
say for sure is he died.
He died. Harold ruled only for 18 years, which
Or
means he
did
must
he?
have come to the throne like in his 50s. Which, yeah, doing a lot of other stuff before he even got there that we just don't know about.
Yeah, well, he was busy.
He was busy in Dublin.
Had prior engagements.
Prior engagements. But Scandinavia remained in its unified state, and he all but ensured that Christianity would become the dominant religion in that area. So even though he didn't have that long a reign, he did enough to essentially form Denmark as we know it and start the conversion from paganism to Christianity and probably stop crusades going there. And that's kind of where it wraps up because there isn't that much else on him. But I have a couple of facts to wrap up on. As mentioned,
Well, I believe you have some dental facts to tell us
I do
about
have some
him.
dental facts, but we'll talk about Bluetooth first. As mentioned right at the start, the Bluetooth creator named his device after Harold Bluetooth, as it would unify all devices, or as Tom said, all of Denmark.
As we all know, Denmark is the biggest device in human history.
Exactly. We can't live without Denmark.
Just a big laptop.
It really is.
The symbol of Bluetooth is a combination of his runic initials, which is pretty cool. His son, Sven Forkbeard, would later become the ruler of both England and Denmark, and is what I think is one of England's longest ruling Viking kings. Here's quite a good story that I might touch on at another point, because there's a lot about the Viking kings in England, because we had all the monks doing the writing and whatnot.
We had monks that could write.
I know. It's amazing.
We didn't have to carve everything into a stone.
I think that's why we don't have a lot of history from that point. It's like, it's too much effort to carve it into stone. And most of the time when they carved stuff, it was just, this is very high, or Olaf was here, which I'm not even kidding.
Viking graffiti.
So the Hagia Sophia in Constantinople, or Istanbul, there is a piece of graffiti which is literally "This is very high," which was done by a Viking who was presumably part of the
No,
Varangian.
that wasn't Hagia Sophia. That was found in a random cave, like many feet up.
Well, there
Or
is
people were like,
a graffiti
why do people
in
carve
Hagia Sophia,
that?
then.
There was one in Hagia Sophia, which said something like, oh, I can't remember his name, like Thorkel was here or something like that. Where basically,
So basically, what I just said.
yeah, graffiti the shit onto it. It was hilarious.
Yeah, Harold has a had they found I think they found Harold's actual treasure hoard not too long ago,
nice.
which is located on a island in Germany which has just the best name. The island is called Hidden Sea, spelt hidden and then SEE.
Helpful.
Ah, it's the island of Hidden, see?
Ugh.
There are also some discrepancies actually between the Viking sagas and the Jomsviking histories. Harold may actually have been the founder of the Jomsvikings. It's possible that he started the whole thing, which is why he did a lot of stuff with them.
And that's why when they converted to Christianity, they kicked him out.
Yeah, that's presumably why he had problems with them. But it says apparently he worked extensively with them. And finally, the one fact you've all been waiting for. Harold Bluetooth gets his nickname from one of two things. We don't know which. Either he had one very bad but very prominent tooth, which could only have hurt like hell if it was blue. Or it's because he absolutely loved blueberries. And he ate so many of them, they stained his teeth blue.
I like to believe the second one.
I hope it's the second one.
Got more of
It's probably the. I probably think it's the first one, but
Probably
I'd like it if it was the second
What if
one.
it was both?
That'd be funny.
What if
It's just like
Could have been both.
eating his entire supply of blueberries.
he got blue teeth from eating too many blueberries?
And they also fucked his tooth up.
But that is the small, but I think quite cool history of Bluetooth.
Oh, cool.
It was a good Viking ride.
Runestones.
I think I'll go back and touch on not necessarily. I was debating about Ragnar Lodbrok. I might do something on his sons instead because there's a lot of stuff out there on.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff in his sons. It's the kind of thing where Ragnar is a
He's a
semi-fantastical.
figure.
Yeah, he's a fantastical figure. Where it's like he might be real, might not be. His sons are actual people.
I think it is confirmed that he was real. Just a lot of what he did is not true.
Yeah.
History.
And, the gods helped him and stuff like that. All that's obviously mythological. But I think he was a person who existed.
He was touched by a god.
In just the wrong way. He went right for the asshole of Scandinavia.
Ragnar's sons of the great heathen or great or grand heathen armies. Interesting stuff.
That's why I hate the show Vikings. They didn't fucking show it.
No, I mean, I think they're showing parts of it now, but not quite.
They didn't show the opening battle where they defeated Aegon.
Oh, that's annoying.
It's fucking. That's when I stopped watching. It made me angry.
Yeah. Right.
I'm looking at the map currently for trying to work out where this asshole that Matt is on about.
So
yeah, I've got to say, like one of the more bizarre pieces of.
Like I see a map and there's
I
like.
honestly think Sweden, Norway looks more like a two-pronged penis than anything else.
I don't think the Scandinavians want their countries to be described as an asshole or a penis.
Tough.
Which Scandinavian viewers, which would you prefer?
I guess it comes down to personal preference.
Does that make looking at this then? Does that make Finland the ball sack?
Oh
Yes.
God!
No, seriously, look at it. Yeah.
It's an anatomically correct part of the continent.
In the same way that Italy's a foot.
Exactly. But yeah, John, do you want to kick it on over to kick the ball at you? Catch it or don't, but tell me of the stuff. Help my head.
It's fine. You're not doing too great. Right. Yeah, basically, what I'm going to talk about today is it's going to be a lot later on in history. I'm going back to kind of World War II again, but it's actually a bit later than that. It's going to be like the origin of World War II, but later on.
The year after World War II.
Yes, several of them actually. I am going to talk about a man named Hiru Onoda, who is pretty much one of the last soldiers to surrender
the Mad Jungle
slash
people.
after. He is one of the Mad Jungle people.
yeah.
Yes. He wasn't the last truly the last Japanese soldier to live. Wait, no, not to live, to surrender.
Yeah.
But,
All the Japanese soldiers are currently dead.
no, because there
They
was
just send Pokemon to fight their battles now.
because there was a guy who surrendered after it. I think he was penultimate. Some guy surrendered the same year, but later in the year. But that guy was Taiwanese Japanese, so they're not as friendly about him as they are. Yeah, the Japanese don't like him as much as they like Hironoda because he's not truly Japanese kind of thing. And and because the second guy, the difference is Hironoda was pretty much a soldier for the entire time he was in the jungle. He kept up to speed, kept everything up. Just still thought he was fighting for the Japanese. At some point, bloody Teru Nakamura, the other guy, just stopped being a soldier, just lived in the fucking forest. Just I live here now. Screw it.
He just became a hermit.
Yeah, pretty much. Whereas
I'm a man of the forest now.
Whereas Hironoda was bumbling. Whereas Hironoda was bumbling about in his uniform and his rifle for. Well, we'll see how long he lasts. You know.
A long fucking time, if memory
Long
serves
time.
me well.
Yes, a very long time. Onoda was born on March 19th, 1922, in the village of Kamikawa in the Wakayama prefecture of Japan. Apparently, he was always quite a defiant and stubborn child. So yeah, that's not exactly unexpected. And yeah, his family had always pretty much been soldiers in Japanese history.
Like a classical,
Yeah.
my father did this, so I
Yes.
did it.
Yeah, his father was a sergeant in the Japanese cavalry who fought and died in the Second Sino-Japanese War in China.
That's not pretty good, but
No, it's not. Yeah. That's yeah. It's just anyway. So yeah, he enlisted in the Imperial Japanese Army when he turned 18. Just one year before Japan would basically go after Pearl Harbor, which is not good. It was anyway. He trained as an intelligence officer in the commando class Futama at the Nakano School, which is a particular military center. They just literally specialised in teaching you how to think unconventionally, act like a guerrilla force, sabotage counterintelligence, propaganda, all the
blue
fun
sky
bullshit.
thinking program where we're going to tell you how to creatively kill the enemy.
Yeah, it was not good. I've got a picture of him as a young officer. I'm just going to put it in the chat.
Angry as Joseph Biley.
Oh no, he doesn't. He looks somewhat polite actually compared to Joseph Biley.
He looks like no nonsense, like I am a soldier.
Yeah.
Whereas Joseph Biley has the face of a man who might punch you if you touch his candy.
Yeah, Joseph Biley looks like he's about to implode with rage. But no.
He's so angry, his face implodes in it.
And he's taking you with him.
Oh god.
Oh god. All these skills kind of came to the forefront when Onoda was sent to Lubang Island in the Philippines after the end of his training. That was December of 44.
Was that when the Americans had started the island hopping process and were close to liberating the Philippines?
They'd basically started captivation of basically the Philippines in early 44. So they were by the winter of 44, most of the Japanese troops were out of the major islands of the Philippines.
Yeah, and they were
on a lot of them were on the smaller islands, and the retreats to the smaller islands, like Lubang Island was a small island.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is like one of the last holdouts of the Philippines, basically. So basically, and they basically said, okay, Miss Hironoda has been, I believe it was lieutenant. Second lieutenant. He had been sent to Lubang Island because they thought, well, he's got some decent skills in this area. Let's send him to Lubang Island to basically hold off the American and Philippines troops for as long as possible. I like at this point they're like, no, he's probably not going to win, but we'll just delaying tactic. It's fine.
Do your job, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Don't retreat. Keep fighting.
Well, that was the Japanese truth when it comes to bloody. It was because obviously there was the bloody kamikazes as well as the I think the Kaiken. I can't remember the name. The actual manned suicide torpedoes, which is a
Oh,
horrifying
shit,
thing to talk
what?
about. Yeah, those. Which they didn't
That's
initially actually start. They put hatches in them so you
I was
could
going to
leave
say,
partway
wasn't there
through
an
the charge.
ejector seat initially?
Yes,
but they got rid of
there
it?
was initially a hatch you could leave in to actually live and just let the thing go on its own. But the later models, they took them off them because no one bothered using them. And it was just like, well, it's a waste of engineering, so let's just fuck it, seal it.
It's cheaper to not have the escape hatch.
Yeah, because none of the Japanese
one's
soldiers are using them.
Well,
So-
I guess if you left it too late to jump out, it wouldn't matter if you got out because the explosion would catch you.
yeah, I know, but
I don't know how
a
far
lot of these
close
you're
you
designed to be
travel
fine. Like you're supposed to point in the right direction, set it off, and when you got close enough, just get out. But
Yeah.
no. Anyway, so yeah, Noda's actual orders, I believe. He basically got ordered not to, like, do not surrender, keep fighting for as long as possible. Don't give up. Basically, we stay here. They literally told him like, stay here. We will come back and get you.
Yeah.
Basically, don't surrender.
Guess what they
Yeah,
didn't do?
They
didn't come back and get
No.
Shit, we forgot about Noda. That was 20 years ago.
Who was a Noda?
Yeah,
Who's a
his orders
Noda?
were like- oh god, yeah. Oh, it was bad. His order said in no circumstances he was to surrender or take his own life. So don't kill yourself, which is
Wait,
it's
so
a bit
don't
unusual for
surrender,
Japan.
but take your.
No, just keep fighting till everyone's dead.
If you, What?
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
if you
So-
were to, like, if you don't surrender, so basically it's just like you have to get shot by the enemy. That is the only.
yes, that is the only way.
Outcome
Yes, that is the only way
available.
out. Keep
And
fighting
if
till
you
they get.
were to be captured, though, you can't kill yourself.
Yeah.
Get the cap just to kill. Oh my god.
Yeah. Just keep biting or something until.
Shit on his leg. Aggressively.
I mean,
it was pretty
from
nuts.
the
So-
surprise cannibalism part that went up, that's
Fight their kneecaps. I hear that's where the good stuff is.
oh god.
cartilage.
So chewy. It's like a refresher, but meat flavored.
Tasty treat.
For the whole family.
But yeah, he did eventually write a book when he got back to. Spoiler: he does eventually get back to Japan at some point.
Yeah.
But yes. Anyway,
They
yeah,
did
so he's
remember
been-
him after all.
Only
Yeah,
because like a bunch of people were complaining there was a madman in the woods, probably.
Quite, yeah, actually, yeah.
Oh, shit, I hit the nail on the head.
No, there was a real problem with that. But yeah, so he the intent was just basically they sent him to Lubang to hamper enemy attacks on, and he was supposed to destroy the airstrip and the pier at the harbour, just to basically destroy any infrastructure you can on the island, make it useless for when they turn up.
Scorch earth policy.
Yeah,
Did
so,
he keep,
yeah,
did
when
he keep doing that? Is that what Matt was getting at?
Mhm.
He just every time they just rebuilt it, he just went back and just kept destroying it, and they were like, "Okay, someone's got to do something about this rabid madman in the woods."
He doesn't like our
essentially, he
bridge.
did,
I don't know why.
He did continue guerrilla activities for quite a while, but it wasn't just him. Anyway,
I'm
I'll
imagining him pretending to be a gorilla in the woods.
fucking just. Well, turns out the Yeti's real. No, no.
But he lives in Indonesia.
Yeah. The problem for Onoda was basically when he actually got to the island, he was supposed to take control of some soldiers there, basically go on about this, but there were officers there that ranked him, and they basically refused to let him carry out his guerrilla warfare assignment, and they said, "No, we're not going to do that. We're just going to fight them head on when they land." And
I'm assuming that
bloody-
didn't go well.
No, it literally, as basically the American forces land on the small island in February 28, 1945, so they're a couple months from there. The Japanese forces attempt to fight them, quickly defeated. That's what happened. And Onoda, seeing this happen, basically, he grabbed 3 other soldiers, Private Yuichi Akatsu, Corporal Shuichi Shimada, and Private First Class Kinshiki Kazuka, I think, or Kinshichi, sorry, Kazuka, and he basically ordered them into the woods, like, "Come on lads, in the woods, quick, run, we're going to guerrilla warfare." Just, like, grab your guns, we're going to run into the jungle then. And that's exactly what they did. They ran through the jungle and basically just carried on. They just stole food, rice, coconuts, and meat. They shot people's cattle and cows and just ate them, doing farm raids, and occasionally just came to places just to fight, just to shoot at Philippine troops and the like. Anyway, it carries on this for many months until basically August of 1945, when the war between Japan and kind of US kind of came to the end, anyway.
when the war figured.
Yes. And they no doubt noticed...
silently fuming.
Fuming? He's laughing. No, anyway, I hope. Anyway, but they... Yeah, so he lived in the mountains for a while. In August of 1945, Onoda noticed that there was a bit of a lull in the fighting. Still didn't suspect that his actual nation had surrendered. So he just carried on what he was doing, his little private war. This is where, he's an interesting person, but he is definitely not a good person. Because most of his private war was just, shooting local farmers every now and then, and killing cattle, and occasionally having shootouts with the police on the island. You're just like, the war's fucking over. And just these 4 infantrymen just shooting back at them with, rifles in the jungle.
I think you'll find my war with these farm animals is ongoing.
And the problem is the US knew that there was these Japanese holdouts all over the Philippines. And they knew they had no method of communication at all with their own command. So they're like, what can we do? So they made multiple efforts to actually try and make sure that they actually told people, hey, you surrendered! And they were airdropping leaflets over islands with informed Japanese troops surrender. And
I hope he wiped his ass with them.
Well, that's pretty great for toilet paper out in the fucking woods, wasn't it?
It was actual paper as opposed to fucking leaves and shit.
Exactly. But they came across a leaflet like one of these and that's the end of the war in October 45. Yeah. They quickly said, no, it's propaganda. It's fine. Because don't worry, guys, I'm training propaganda, and this is propaganda.
I mean...
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. And more leaflets just kept on coming. And at the end of 1945, the leaflets came, but this time they had printed on them a surrender order from General Tomoyuki Yamashita of the 14th Area Army. So the general's just saying, yeah, we lost, guys. And they took this one a little bit more seriously, because it is actually, it was their general, They studied the document, and eventually they concluded it was fake. Bullshit. Propaganda. Don't worry. Because Onoda basically personally believed that, well, Japan would never surrender. They're going to find the last dollar, but that's going to...
It's I don't want to use the word indoctrinated, but
you can, I think.
It gets so heavily indoctrinated that people at the time had that belief, especially in Japan, like, our nation can't be defeated.
Yeah,
we will keep fighting, we won't surrender, kind of. And that mentality of a soldier, I guess, bled over into their ideal of the country.
Yeah, and it was just... they basically, they kept on going just as they were. Cut to 1949, so they've been in the jungle for 4 years now. 1949, September, Yuichi Akatsu basically, he figured, at this point he was almost figured out that, I'm pretty sure we did surrender. I think that was real. So he basically wandered off away from the other guys, and just lived on his own for 6 months in September 1949. He eventually surrendered to Philippine forces in 1950, 6 months on his own. So this made all the 3 others even more paranoid, because they lost one of them and he'd gone, and they became even more cautious and even less likely to believe anything they saw. Yeah, they just doubled down on the paranoia. It was pretty bad, because it was like literally in 1952, because the thing is, at this point, because he just walked out of the jungle 5 years later, essentially, people knew that, oh shit, there's still some of them in the jungle. Oh,
the chaps never left.
Yeah, and because he could tell them about the other 3. And so they know about the Japanese holdouts still on Lubang Island, and with this knowledge, the US basically contact the family members of the people in the holdout, and basically got family photos and letters from their relatives, and then airdropped those over Lubang Island in 1952.
You know what that sounds like to me?
Propaganda.
Propaganda.
Yeah. Like, there's literally letters from your loved ones saying, "Please come home." And Onoda says here in the later interview, we found leaflets and photos from our families, recorded Onoda in a later interview. I assumed they were living under the occupation and had to obey the authorities to survive. Okay.
Oh.
Right.
Oh, no.
Carry on another couple of years. It's 1954 now. Okay. They're still doing the same bullshit they were doing before.
They've
raiding,
almost
occasionally
been in
killing
the
farmers,
jungle
having shoot at...
for 10 years now.
Years in the jungle.
Yes, yeah, exactly. 10 years in the jungle.
And nobody's
Still
been
three.
into the jungle to clear them out.
Mate, it's a fucking jungle in the
Yeah.
Philippines.
Yeah,
How
to be fair.
if
It's
you
a
don't
jungle
wanna-
out there, Matt.
And they're trained in guerrilla warfare. If you don't want to find them, they're probably not. You're not probably not going to find them. Also, they've got guns, and they'll probably shoot you, thinking you're you're still part of the war effort.
How,
It's like fuck that. I'll just go live
What?
in the city.
what were
That's
they
so
getting
good.
guns
That,
and
Corby.
additional ammo and shit for?
Yeah.
They must have been running out of ammo, surely. Or did they haul out all the ammo they had previously into the jungle?
I think they took as many fucking supplies as. There's a picture here of the supplies actually Anoda was found with at basically when he eventually came out.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, in 1954 he lost another one of his compatriots, but this time it was he didn't wander off. Corporal Shimada, basically he was shot and killed by a Philippine search party looking for the men because they are wanted criminals. You know they are.
Yeah, technically,
War has ended. They are just shooting people and robbing people.
Yeah.
So they are just murderers at this point. Obviously, it's a bit of a touchy issue because are they aware they're murderers because they still think they're in part of a war? At what point does that become not a grey area? So at this point, there's two of them. It's him and Private First Class Kinshichi Kazuka. Right.
How,
and
are you,
they carry on like
how are you
this.
spelling that first name out of curiosity?
It is Kinshichi. I don't want to say Kinshiki, but I think it's Kinshichi.
Kinshichi, yeah.
Yeah, Kinshichi Kazuka. So I'm just going to call him Private Kazuka. It's easier.
Yeah, this is why animes refer to people by surnames, because it's fucking easier.
It really bloody is. But yeah, and it was like, I did mean to mention before, Shimada. He was killed by that search party, but the year before, he'd been shot in the leg by a shootout a local fisherman. He'd obviously had enough at this point. And Anoda nursed him back to health before. But next year he got shot and killed. But anyway, it carried on after that with like many years, and basically cut forward ahead to 1972.
Oh god, we've leapt 20 on almost 20 years.
Yes,
That is
1972. What happened
a long
is
time.
his last ally, Private Kazuka, was killed by police while the two of them were currently in the middle of burning a village's rice silo. Because of course they're being bastards again.
Of course, they're
And like
not really hitting infrastructure so much as just harassing
bullying the farmers and the fishermen. Yeah,
I like to
know.
think it's just the one farmer they keep going back to.
Just the one, actually.
Yeah. But yes, anyway, he
The
was
one
he was
Jap, actually.
So, obviously, this was quite unpleasant for the police. Suddenly realised, oh, shit, they're still in there. Fuck!
Yeah.
It's 72! We've landed on the moon since this!
I like
What?
every time it happens because of the time gap. They're like, "Hey, so we found this Japanese soldier," and there's just this old guy in the office, just like, "For fuck's sake!"
Oh, for fuck! Yeah, one of them got away. Oh, shit! Anyway, no,
It's like the unsolved case you could never solve because they're still around.
Anyway, Anoda was now alone after he died in 70. After Kazuka died in 72.
How old was
just literally-
Anoda at this point?
Oh god,
So
let's
he was
have a-
born in
a
the
quick
20s, so
check.
like
He was
50?
He was born in
1944?
1922, so he's 50 at this point.
Fucking hell! And more than half his life has been spent in that jungle.
Yes, he has been in that jungle.
He is one with
since
the
he was-
jungle.
He has been in that jungle since he was like 18, I believe.
He's living the Jumanji lifestyle.
It is, yes. It is not been good. So now he's obviously still pretty paranoid and obviously probably quite very lonely because he's now
Probably fueling his own
it's literally-
paranoia for being
Yeah.
alone.
he is literally a one-man army against the entire Philippine government. Just
Damn.
yeah, and obviously after this point, because Katsu had gone home 22 years ago now, and the other two had just had died relatively recently, the Japanese public was well aware of the story of Hiroru Onoda. They knew who he was because of Katsu, and and they're kind of enamored with him because like, that's pretty cool. He's still fighting for the country, like because they a lot of the Japanese public were quite a fan of him, to be honest. It was weird, but because of that, people had actually started thinking maybe we should actually go look for him.
Maybe we should bring him home, you know?
Yeah, although this is problematic because obviously, like, some people have been search parties and stuff, killed by search parties. Anyway, but then there was this man called Norio Suzuki, who is a very interesting person. He is basically he was a Japanese university dropout who became basically a weird or kind of explorer / adventurer. Just kind of went off across the world trying to find weird stuff.
He went on a gap here to find himself, and it went out of hand.
Yes, literally.
He found more than himself.
He hitchhiked across 50 countries in Asia at this point, the Middle East, Africa, slept on park benches in strangers' cars, left Japan, and basically...
Park benches in strangers' cars?
And in strangers' cars.
There's got to be some big cars to fit those park
Fucking
benches
bench
in.
in the car, the seats aren't comfy enough. Not with the 72 leather. Anyway, no, but basically, he became fascinated by the idea of Hiruro Onoda and finding, because he'd actually told his friends and family that Norio Suzuki had told his friends and family that he was on a mission to find 3 things in this world: Lieutenant Onoda, a wild panda in China, and the abominable snowman. He will find them.
Does he die looking for the snowman, so we'll never know if he succeeded?
But basically...
Tune in next week to find out.
So he was in a part of a trip around the world in 1974, and he thought, no, I can do it. He came to the Lubang Island to find Hiruro Onoda. He found him in 4 days.
Oh my god!
Damn.
Wait, wasn't he just walking around the jungle shouting his name?
Pretty much. He just saw this very kind of shabby-looking guy still in a Japanese uniform, walking around with a rifle, and just gone, oh, that must be him. There's actually a picture of him here with actually after finding Onoda, who at this time has grown a mustache, quite a neat mustache. But just go.
Wow,
There
that
he is,
is a
his
nice
rifle.
mustache.
It is like he's done all right there. He's obviously kept his head and stuff trim.
For a guy who's been living in the jungle so long, he looks pretty good.
He's been in the jungle since.
He looks nowhere near as haggard as I would expect.
Yeah.
For a man who's been
Damn
living
good.
20
This
years
is
in the jungle.
March. This is March 1974.
Damn.
He has been in the jungle for 30 years, pretty much.
He knows what needs
Most of 30 years.
keeping his skin young.
He doesn't look bad, does he?
Also, I like how the other guy definitely went wandering around in the jungle looking for him in a pair of jeans
Yeah,
and a nice shirt.
Yeah, he did, and basically, he found him, and he was. Yeah, here we go. Onoda described this moment in a 2010 interview. This hippie boy Suzuki came to the island to listen to the feelings of a Japanese soldier. Suzuki asked me why I would not come out. They basically ended up becoming friends, but Onoda still refused to surrender for the reason that he's saying he was waiting for orders from a superior officer to surrender. Because as he said, his orders were to not surrender and not to take his own life, and we will come back and get you. So Suzuki went, oh, for Christ's sake, for shit's sake, got photographs of himself in the note, including that one of him holding his gun and grinning like a child. I love it. It's just so
It makes you wonder, like, if he was out shooting the locals, who took this photo?
I think Suzuki went with someone. But yeah, anyway.
I want to know how he kept that rifle functioning.
I don't bloody there's photo stuff. I'll send them in a minute after we've decided. how we
I mean,
actually
as John said, he
discussed when it
probably
comes
went
out.
around and like stole a lot of shit.
It's a lot of shit. Anyway, he came back. Suzuki returned to Japan with photographs of himself and Onoda as proof of the encounter. Said, yeah, he's real. He's here. The Japanese government basically had a mission to find his commanding officer from the war. Like, oh shit, we have to find him, otherwise this man's not going to leave the jungle. They found him, Major Yoshimi Tenaguchi, who obviously had long since surrendered in 1945 and has since become a bookseller.
Oh, nice.
So good for him.
It's a pretty,
So,
homely
yeah.
kind of thing to go into.
Yeah.
So Taniguchi was like obviously. I have to wonder how you felt about this because people would have known, people knew about Hiruro Onoda in Japan, so you probably heard about it and just gone,
Yeah.
oh shit,
Silently
that's my fault.
Like he's just got his bookstore's just in like a shady back alley, and he's like, I left that man there a long time ago.
There's just
Hope
like a
no one
post-it
would
note
come
under
looking
his
for
fridge
me
that
with
says,
this.
Pick up an odor. It's like, oh shit.
That man is my one mistake that I never went back for. This is all my fault.
They got the ex-Meiji Taniguchi to go to the Lubang Island, and on 9th of March, 1974, he finally met with Onoda and fulfilled the promise he made back in 1944. Whatever happens, we'll come back for you. He then issued him the following orders. 1. In accordance with the Imperial Command, the 40th Area Army ceased all combat activity. 2. In accordance with Military Headquarters Command Number A-2003, the Special Squadron Staff Headquarters is relieved of all military duties. 3. U.S. individuals under the Commander's Special Squadron are to ease military activities and operations immediately and place themselves under the command of their nearest superior officer. When an officer can be found, they are to communicate with the American or Philippine forces and follow their directives. And then finally, that meant Onoda was relieved of duty and he surrendered. Now, I'm gonna get that picture of what he came out of the jungle with.
Was it a wild panda and the abominable snowman?
Here's a good actual colour picture of him.
Dead and skinned.
Here is a good colour picture of him actually walking out of the jungle, and he looks like fairly good. You can see how bloody ruined his uniform is.
How has he kept himself looking so youthful?
Yeah, I don't know.
He's also managed to grow that, compared to the last picture, he's also managed to grow that bit under his nose in his mustache.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess he thought, oh shit, I've got to make myself look better.
Oh wait, has he still got his sword?
Yes, he does. He's
Damn.
an officer. Hiro Onoda surrendered and turned over his sword, a functioning Arasaka Type 99 rifle, 500 rounds of ammunition, and several hand grenades, as well as the dagger his mother had given him in 1944 to kill himself with if he was captured, which obviously was useless because they told him not to kill himself.
500 rounds of ammo.
Yeah, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And obviously only Private Teruo Nakamura had last out longer because he held out till bloody the end of '74, I believe. Just 18th of December 1974. But yeah. Anyway, so obviously he came out at this point, and this is the arsenal of some of the stuff he came out with.
Oh my god.
We're
Wow.
gonna put that picture up on the site because it is all that. So obviously you can see there's multiple rifles there because I can only see he took the rifle and it's fallen combat.
Look, if you look at the people on the left, and then there's like the second one looking at the table, I love that
He
expression.
looks like what the. Yeah, he genuinely looks like what the. Like man with several cameras. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That is just.
Yeah.
Damn.
A lot of
But
stuff.
yeah, I just love that actually Suzuki found him. Yeah,
He found him just by calling his name, essentially.
yeah, he got returned to Japan where he was greeted as a hero by a cheering populace.
Wow.
It was and the President Ferdinand Marcos of the Philippines at this point, obviously not a good person, but he basically he proceeded to put a pardon from him. He said, yes, we know you killed several people engaged with shootouts to the local police, but at the same point, you were technically you did definitely believe the war was still ongoing because you were a psychopath. So,
You're Japan's problem now.
Yeah, literally. But it was, so he came out of the jungle. That was quite the end of his story.
The concerning thing to me is this table of stuff you've put in the Discord still definitely goes around the corner, so there's more stuff that we can't see.
That's just something.
At the end. It must be like a full, kind of square of them, or something.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
But he got back to Japan and was very, very out of sorts because this has gone from Imperial Japan wartime to 1974 Japan.
He has essentially travelled in time.
Yeah.
They've started making manga now.
He was.
Beatlemania has been
come
gone.
back to that.
The Rolling Stones exist now.
Gundams are the new big thing in Japan.
Jesus.
When he got back, basically people some people urged him to run for the National Diet, which is part of the.
I don't think he should. No.
It's part of that basically. I think it's House of Representatives, House of Councillors kind of thing. He's also released an autobiography called No Surrender: My 30-Year War, shortly after his return, which basically I assume he was writing this the whole time. He was keeping notes the whole time.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is problematic because it doesn't give the whole story, obviously, because it's still very indoctrinated propagandist almost in a way. Because it's like because they basically it was a Philippine documentary interviewed people who lived on Lubang Island during Onoda's stay and revealed that yes, he's killed several people, which he doesn't talk about in his autobiography. So
Probably told not to put them in the autobiography.
yeah, he got back, and the Japanese government offered him a massive amount of money in back pay because obviously he's been paid for 20 years. He did turn that down. He turned that down. So he was obviously
he thought he was still doing his service.
Yeah.
Yeah. And basically there was money was basically given to him by well wishers, and then he just donated that to Yasukuni Shrine, which is it's a shrine to a Shinto shrine that's basically to commemorate those who died in the service of Japan from the war of from the Boshi War in 1868 all the way to 1954.
It's like a grand memorial kind of thing.
That is, it's just a truly massive memorial. It's a really famous one because it's in Tokyo. But
which
the problem
shrine
is there's at least on that monument is at least the names of 1,068 war criminals. It's a bit it's hard to avoid with Japan's activities in the war, unfortunately. Anyway,
can I just get the name of? Can I get the name of that shrine once more? Just I want to Google it.
It is Yasukuni Shrine.
Yasukuni.
Yasukuni. That's with.
I'm glad. I love.
2 U's and an I.
I'm not gonna lie. I love the Japanese language because you say it like that, and I immediately know how to spell it.
But he got quite involved with right-wing politics when he got back. He was going for a stronger, more warlike Japan again, because he basically believed that the nation should not take a responsibility for the war in East Asia, and was appalled that he was really horrified by the fact that the Allied powers were basically allowed to dissolve their military. So he was campaigning. He tried to campaign for that for a while, but his fame and basically the change in society that had been really unsettled him. So eventually, in 1975, he moved to Brazil, of all places.
For some reason, there was a big immigration from Japan to Brazil in the 60s and after the war.
Yeah, it is odd. In 75 he moved to Brazil, where he started a family and ironically raised cattle on a ranch. So doing the exact thing he was robbing people from.
I wonder if people
he
actually
became the very farmers he once fought against.
He this didn't what the hell was the ranch called? He married someone in 1976 and assumed a leading role in the Japanese community in Terranos, Mato Grosso do Sul, Brazil. And it was interesting. Yeah, he also allowed the Brazilian Air Force to conduct trainings in the land he owned, because obviously he just loves all military stuff, I'm assuming. So just sure, do just gun drills and stuff on my land. It's great. He kind of stayed there for a couple of years, but then he kind of read about a story about a Japanese teenager who murdered his parents in 1980, and this really kind of upsettled him. I think the whole change in culture and stuff like that. Whereas that's probably the most taboo thing you can.
When he was alive.
Yeah. It's probably the most taboo thing that could happen in Imperial Japan if you think about it.
Yeah.
And
nowadays, because it is veneration of the elders.
Well, yeah,
whatnot.
Exactly. But Onoda returned to Japan in 1984 and established the Onoda Shizanjuku, Onoda Nature School, which is an educational camp for young people.
Why would you phrase it like that?
What?
Education. What? Just when someone says it's an educational camp, my brain just hops to propaganda.
I think this is more like trying to teach them life skills.
Yeah.
But and basically teach them not to kill your parents. It's not probably not the best, but people didn't mind him doing it. He did eventually go back to Lubang Island in 1996. So how the hell old would he have been there? He would have been.
Corby, what are you doing?
In 86?
74, I believe.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah. That's massive, gone really bad. I'm slightly hungover, of course. Anyway.
I'm currently looking up the Japan to immigration numbers for them moving to Brazil.
But yeah, this is a massive Japanese community in Terra. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
still Japanese Brazilians. Let's see. According to as of 2009, there's approximately 1.6 million people of Japanese descent in Brazil.
That's quite a lot.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. Anyway, he went back to Lubang Island in 1996. He donated $10,000 to the local school there, because I guess I assumed he felt a bit guilty.
Help the farmers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they probably wouldn't want him back on the island. So I guess his wife ended up becoming the head of the Conservative Japan Women's Association in 2006, and for many years he spent basically 3 months of the year. So I guess the sunniest month of the year in Brazil. So just kept on going back and forward. He was and he was awarded the Merit Medal of Santos Dumont by the Brazilian Air Force in 2004. And then he got awarded the title of citizen in 2010. Anyway, he eventually died of heart failure on 16th of January 2014 in a hospital in Tokyo due to complications of pneumonia. And Japanese Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshida Suzuka commented his death. I still vividly remember that I was reassured at the end of the war when Mr. Onoda returned to Japan. and also phrases will say, it was like, finally, it's fucking over.
Yeah.
That was the end of Hiro Onoda. But what happened to Norio Suzuki? You ask.
You're the one that walked out.
The abominable snowman.
Did he find the abominable snowman and/or a panda?
Well, he did go to China, and shortly afterwards, and he did find a wild panda. So that's 2 out of 3.
Two out of 3.
It ain't bad.
Not good, not bad, not bad.
Now for the hard one.
Yes, now for
Some might say impossible.
Just go to the Himalayas, call out the abominable snowman's name for a bit. I'm sure he'll show up.
In 4 days, you'll find him.
Here's the bloody thing that made. I just remember. This is the sentence that made Onoda not shoot him because Onoda was going to shoot him and he's supposed to name. But Suzuki basically read all about him and just basically quickly said, Onoda-san, the Emperor and the people of Japan are worried about you. We're concerned. Basically. That was funny. But, anyway, he quickly found a wild panda, and he claims in 1975 to have spotted a yeti from a distance, hiking in the Dhaulagiri range of the Himalayas. He married in 1976. Did not give up his quest. Kept looking for that bloody yeti. In 1986, November 1986, he died in an avalanche while searching for the yeti. They found his remains a year later and returned to his family. Now, I reckon the yeti did it. I reckon Norio Suzuki is a man
of an avalanche.
I reckon Norio Suzuki is a man who finds what he's after. So I think he found him.
He found the other 2 things on his list.
That's kind of mind-blowing that Onoda lived that long in the jungle but lived that long.
Somehow didn't here's a picture of him actually getting off the plane off like actually stuck him in a suit after he's left.
He doesn't look too bad in this.
He doesn't look
Is
too
he
bad.
the one on the left?
He's an old soldier.
He's the one on the left, isn't he?
He's the one on the left with the shaved
The one that looks like a Japanese chuckle brother.
Oh fuck! Oh god!
He does a bit, yeah.
He does a little bit. But yes. Anyway, that was the story of Hiro Onoda, who actually.
I was going to ask, the one that walked out of the jungle first, do you know what happened to him?
I think he just retired and got on with his life, honestly. No, it doesn't say much about him other than he just surrendered. He
obviously kept quiet.
I think he told his story, but then they just let him go home.
Yeah.
You have to remember, this was he surrendered
in 45
5 months. Yeah, no, he surrendered in 1950.
Oh, 1950.
So still later, but obviously it wasn't unexpected that there might still be soldiers around that time.
Yeah.
People just weren't expecting it. 24 years after that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, he was there for 30 years.
It was just under 30. It was 29 years. Which is annoying. I thought we would have made the 3 decades, but pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah. What's really funny is when you look up his record, it says years of service, 1942 to 1945, bracket 1974. So, well, technically, he was only employed for this amount, but, you know. Yeah. I'll send that one last picture of him actually officially surrendering to Ferdinand Marcos.
Him handing his sword
yes,
over.
Handing his sword
yeah.
over.
Yep. Still in his old crappy military uniform.
Look at
Just in
that!
colour photo,
Look at those
so
ye
bad.
old cameras in the background. Holy
Look at that
shit!
ye old cameras, and also
Yeah.
that polka dot shirt that guy thought would be perfect to take on this day out.
You can see how excited Polka Dot Shirt Man is just
Oh,
by
you can,
by
just
his
with his eyes.
Is he also wearing
He's been waiting for
braces?
this.
Yes. He is. He's wearing like suspenders. Is that suspenders or is that camera straps? I don't know. He's got so much on him. Anyway, yeah, that colour photo of him walking out of the jungle, just his uniform's wrecked and just like must be handled so
a
often.
beige color?
Yeah, and it's obviously washed to all unholy hell at this point, and his shoes are kind of falling apart. It's just but yeah. Anyway, he left the he left the jungle. Got home.
Awesome. Damn.
I'm impressed.
Wow.
He lived. Honestly.
Just such good innings for a man who essentially lived on nothing but presumably coconuts and cattle for a while.
Coconuts, cattle, stolen rice. Yeah, that's about it. Apparently, that's all you need.
Hey, I
live,
mean, to
right?
be fair, with those 3 ingredients, that's a decent-ish curry.
Yeah. He died. He died in 2014 at age 91. So he had real good innings,
Yeah, damn.
especially considering like
He
what
spent the first half of his life in the jungle.
almost a third of that life was in a jungle. Oh, jeez.
Imagine how hard it would be to sleep in a bed after living in the jungle for so long.
Yeah. And just like the
I don't know
advancements
if it'd
in
be good or
technology and
bad,
whatnot,
you know?
it'd be such a culture
To
shock.
be fair,
return
like,
to
Japanese,
civilization.
they have, like, they don't have, many of them don't have, like, beds. They have, like, bedrolls and sleep on the floor.
Oh, yeah, they do. Yeah.
Because your room is oftentimes not big enough to fit in a bed.
But yeah. Anyway, that's the end of that. It was interesting, but
Was quite the story.
That was amazing.
yeah.
Two
He did have a
fascinating
younger
men.
brother. I'm not sure what happened to his younger brother. I assume he just surrendered and didn't die. So
Well, I guess that's time to wrap it up then for this week. Toms, do you want to plug yourselves with stuff?
Yeah. I have a Twitter, which is @randomjot. I have a YouTube channel, which is Tom H. Jordan. And if you want to read the comics that I've made, you can go to Random Jot Comics on Facebook and just read them there for free.
Cool. I have a YouTube channel, linked down below, because I can never remember the thing, but if you search for Gaius Nix, that's Guias, because I can't spell Gaius, you'll find me. You can also find me that on Twitter, @Gaius Nix, all one word. Capital G, capital N. And I believe I'm also that on Twitch. Let me just confirm that. I never remember my Twitch because I don't use it very often. I need to get back into streaming. Oh no, okay. Twitch is Gaius_Nix.
Tom, take us out.
okay. Do you want the slightly interesting Japanese fact or the very weird Iranian fact?
Oh, let's go for the weird Iranian.
Very weird.
I mean, we could do both.
Color.
This is kind of like a conspiracy thing.
Oh, hell yeah.
In 2012, rumors began circulating on the Iranian internet that Pepsi planned to use powerful lasers to shine the image of their logo on the moon's surface. Literally thousands of Iranians climbed to the roofs to stare at the moon. When nothing happened, some of them bought Coca-Cola out of spite. Just so angry that the Pepsi wasn't on the moon.
That's fucking petty.
Yeah, it's just like, screw it, I'll buy Coke now, I didn't put it on the moon. It's a
You
shit.
Pepsi for not moon signaling. Where's the Pepsi man signal? He's abandoned us.
Pepsi man.
Where's our Lord and Saviour Pepsi
How
man?
could you?
I don't play that good.
What was the Japanese one, out of curiosity?
Alright, I'll do that as well. In Japan, avid golfers have to buy insurance to protect themselves on the course. Now, it's not for the reason you might think. It's because they purchase it, because if they get a hole-in-one, they, like, as a culture thing, they have to buy gifts and drinks for their friends. They have to. So if you succeed really well, and it's like, the policy actually covers them covers them for a party up to $4,900. Because it's that bad. You have to buy You have to buy insurance. Or you just...
Now that you've said that,
Got a
that is
hole-in-one,
like
I'm broke.
that's like 500,000 yen insurance. I think it's
Yeah,
4,900.
No.
Phew.
Actually, 50,
Sometimes it pays to be bad at golf.
that's why none of the Japanese pros actually win the opens.
Oh shit! Oh god! Look how many guns they have. I got this $1,000 prize, but I've got to pay 10. Shit.
I'll pay 10 to celebrate.
Yeah.
$1,000 is a pretty shit price for a pro golfer. Anyway, that's it for Fact Week this week.
Yep. I apologize for my voice, but I think it's alright now.
Hopefully everyone will be back to normal via Net Fiction Week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. Anyway,
We'll see you then.
peace.
Goodbye.
Ta-ra.